Trump. Russia-Ukraine talks very much on track after Zelensky call. March 20, 2025. The White House says Ukrainian leader Volodymyr Zelensky backed the partial ceasefire in the conflict with Russia during a call with President Donald Trump in which the U.S. president pitched American ownership of Ukraine's electrical supply and nuclear power plants. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, reading a statement from Secretary of State Marco Rubio and National Security Advisor Michael Waltz, told reporters that Trump told Zelensky the U.S. could be very helpful with its electricity and utility expertise, and proposed the American ownership of the plants as the best protection of Ukrainian energy infrastructure. The two leaders also agreed on a partial ceasefire against energy, she said. Technical teams will meet in Saudi Arabia in the coming days to discuss broadening the ceasefire to the Black Sea on the way to a full ceasefire. They agreed this could be the first steps toward the full end of the war and ensuring security. First talk since White House meltdown. Trump and Zelensky spoke for the first time since an Oval Office blow-up briefly led the U.S. to halt the military and intelligence assistance to Kiev. In a Wednesday call, the leaders discussed a partial ceasefire in Russia's war against Ukraine that would involve both countries refraining from attacking the other's energy infrastructure, including nuclear power plants and oil refineries. The White House said Zelensky asked for additional help with their defense, and Trump agreed to help him to find additional resources, ideally in Europe. They also discussed children who had been abducted from Ukraine during the war. President Trump promised to work closely with both parties to help make sure those children were returned home, the statement said. Trump said he spoke with Zelensky for roughly an hour. "We are very much on track, and I will ask Secretary of State Marco Rubio and National Security Advisor Michael Waltz to give an accurate description of the points discussed," he said. Kiev previously agreed to a U.S. proposed 30-day ceasefire with Moscow. Russia's President Vladimir Putin instead endorsed a more limited truce during a Tuesday call with Trump. Trump and Putin spoke for more than 90 minutes Tuesday. The Trump administration said those talks would be followed by additional negotiations in Saudi Arabia to secure an expanded ceasefire and peace agreement 3 years after Russia invaded its smaller neighbor. Zelensky said Wednesday he wanted to discuss the details of the proposals directly with Trump after Russia launched overnight drone attacks on Ukraine's energy facilities. Russia said that Ukraine also hit an oil depot. Zelensky said at a news conference prior to his call with Trump that a verbal commitment from Russia to abide by a ceasefire would not be enough. He also said he would not accept the peace deal that requires Ukraine to recognize occupied territories as Russian, describing it as a red line in negotiations. Story by Francesca Chambers, USA Today, March 20, 2025.